What is going on, fam? I'm not going to try to be in here long because I think there is a line of thunderstorms that is headed my way. So I'm going to try to get in. But anyway, that's not just the reason that I'm on earlier tonight, just so everybody knows. I'm bumping the time up to 9 o'clock. That's across all platforms. That's across Patreon and the YouTube Wednesday show. So Monday, Patreon, 9, Wednesday, YouTube, 9. But the Friday Patreon is still our 2 p.m. Lunchtime session. So just in case you all were wondering, just trying to keep budgeting it up just a bit for people, have to get up in the morning, including me. So sometimes you just be trying to get your nighttime to bedtime earlier. So I just want to do that to be respectful of everybody and what you all are doing. So anyway, fam, let me just say, we have, I think a lot of us are getting caught up in a lot of the wrong things. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Also, if you have not already, as we speak of getting involved in the wrong things, if you have not gotten involved in the right things, you absolutely should. If you have not gone to the ADOS Advocacy Foundation's YouTube page, subscribed and checked out the Critical Mass podcast, then you, sir or madam, are missing out. If you have not done that, you are missing out. So please go and check that out. We are doing, producing, people in the org are producing all kinds of content absolutely free. Please check that out. Also, shout out to everybody in the ADOS chapters that were outside. There were a lot of chapters that were outside. So shout out to y'all. Saw Maryland. I know there was some other stuff going on in different places, different chapters. I know ADOS Atlanta, we were outside. And shout out to them. They put together the whole function by themselves. I just was there eating. I appreciate you. But a shout out to everybody who, and I think as the years go by, we can build up our own Juneteenth that will, and take it back to its roots. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate the ability to be able to do that with you all. But I just, listen, some of us get too caught up in just wanting to, listen, we understand the need for disaggregation. We all understand that. We called that out years ago. But you have to be willing to do something other than yell and scream and yelp and mule about, yeah, we're not standing with them. No, we're not. Now what? Because there has to be a political change, and a political change does not come without a political kind of understanding. I know a lot of people would like to believe differently, but if you want a political change in your life, you have to be undergirded by an understanding of politics. It only comes through rigor. It doesn't come through hollering and yapping and tweeting. And great, we do a great job of tweeting to dispense disinformation about us. Right? And I always said you got to stand on your square. That's what I've always said. I see it everywhere now. Yes, I've always said that, but there's a lot more that has to be done as well. It's not just standing on your square. It's standing on your books. It's standing in your politics. All that is standing on your square. It's not just hooping and hollering. It's not just tweeting. There's a whole lot more that goes to standing on your square. A lot of us in this movement have read books now. That's the reason we have a lot of us read them before now. But that's the reason we're so good at this. Now, there are other people, I will not say who, but who will just kind of take the stuff from the books that we've read and just use it. Like, no, at some point you got to kind of do the work yourself so that we all have the political fortitude that is necessary to fight this fight. Now, I started to call this podcast, this episode, I started to call it The Uncivilized, because I just wanted to point out one thing, and one thing only, to everybody, that we have had for years, and I hope this Trump era is an unmasking of the many lies that ADOS have been told. We have had, how many years? A long, long bunch of years. We have been dealt with the idea of what was really ADOS respectability. They called it black respectability because it was really only us. But back then, the black respectability, and who gets to be civilized and what civilization looks like. And if you're not good enough at mocking white culture, if you're not good enough at this thing, then you are not worthy of American citizenship. Forget that you built the country. Forget that half of the stuff that you do is because you're poor and you have no money and you cannot look a certain way. You cannot be a certain way. You cannot behave a certain way. It is not in your benefit to do any of those things if you are poor and beneath poverty. So but they made us believe, oh, no, 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 that is a sign of your being uncivilized. That is a sign of you having some type of degeneracy within you, right? So, I wanted to bring that up because it goes to the lies that we have been told and we have been followed. And now it's time to give up the lies. We have to abandon that altogether because we never should have been being respectable for the white gaze anyway. If you want to be respectable as a person, and I explain this to people all the time, you should want to be respectful for your family, for your tribe, for the people who love you, for the people who care for you. It should never have been a performance for the white gaze because we see this kind of thing when we look at Trump's advisors, right? By some reports, Hegseth wasn't consulted. That's your Secretary of Defense, which I suppose is its own perverse solace. Trump apparently learned we're talking about Iran, his lesson when Hegseth decided that a Signal group chat was the proper venue for an emoji-laden pep rally about imminent military strikes against the Houthis. Clue Hegseth in on the Iran plan, and he might wind up divulging it to the form in the form of charades on Fox and Friends. Now, what this tells you, that book culture. You don't have to be an intellectual just to say, I read books. I read books. But when you understand this about this administration, that we don't even know, Hegseth has no idea what he's doing. He has no resume. He's replacing a 4-star general, right? Who actually, Negro there, replacing him. He had to be the best in the military to get there. Hegseth just has to be a friend of Trump. That lets you know there never was a meritocracy, right? All of the things that you were told about a meritocracy, and you just have to get better and you have to improve your culture, and although it was all a lie. It's the same way we talk about Tulsi Gabbard. And we talk about, and they're going to talk about her in a second. It's the same way that we talk about and we deal with everything that happens in our world, and the belief that if I just name my kids a different name, like your kid could be named Moquisha and have a 4.0. But do y'all remember the study that came out that said if you have an ADOS sounding name, you're less likely to get hired? So a name can anchor you to the bottom because of the association with the bottom caste. But you can be Hegseth, who is known only for showing up as a puppet on Fox and Friends, and everything can be okay. I think one of the things that we have to absorb in this moment without just getting caught up in all of the noise, let it sink in. Because a lot of people were still chasing this. I got in an argument with a dodo bird the other day who was saying that, no, we just is a part of the culture. You're too stupid for the moment. And we have a lot of people who are just not for the moment. This is an outmoded way of thinking something. And it was always a way to just have us chase this carrot around. What a carrot. Oh, they got to say, I got to do this. I got to do this. And you just never get anywhere. It's just a maze. So when you go down one route, they say, oh, this route ain't right. Oh my God. I got to go. Oh, let me see. I got to go around this way. Wait a minute. No. Your name ain't right. Okay, let me go around this way. Wait a minute. The culture. Y'all have a substandard culture. Okay, let me go around this way. Oh, your clothes. See, your clothes. I don't know that you got to learn how to dress. But let me go around this way. It's just a maze. And you have to understand that. There's a difference between having self-respect and performing for the white gaze. The second thing we should never do, just back to this thing. Let me just read from this really quickly, this article. And Gabbard, her relationship with Trump strained, to say the least. He told reporters on Air Force One to pay no heed to her statement several months ago that Iran wasn't close to or that focus on developing a nuclear weapon. I don't care what she said, Trump blurted, apart from how warm and fuzzy that brush off must have made Gabbard feel. It spoke volumes about the limits of Trump's confidence in and use for her. You have a president who is... Listen, we have never seen this level of incompetence, not in our lifetime. I thought George W. Bush was the bottom. Thought we couldn't go no lower than that. This level of just obscene ignorance, flouting all of the norms of respectability. and he's not being held to account for it. Now you will have liberals who will say, "Oh my gosh, this is not who we are." Well, no, that is who they've been. That is who they've always been, right? But there is no punishment for that. There was no punishment when Trump was on stage imitating what we know he imitated. There was no punishment for that. He still got elected. When he said, "I'll grope him by the blah, 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 blah," he still had enough people to elect him. January 6th, he pardoned them. No, listen, they're not going to suffer consequences. Why? It was never about meritocracy. That was just a game to keep you chasing. That was just a game to think that make you believe that the world was one way. And it's not. Remember in The Wire, the dude told a security guard, "You think it's one way, but it's not." Like, this is you think it's one way, but it's not. You're not going to get there by merit. You're not going to get there by, that's not saying you shouldn't have merit. You should do this because you respect yourself enough. But don't believe that they respect you enough to say this person has done enough to achieve. No, they want that to be a placeholder for whiteness, regardless of whether or not they have enough to achieve. And this is especially what we learned in the book club book. This is especially what conservatives do. They don't need anybody in place. They need somebody in place who will destroy government. And the more incompetent you are, the better. So there is a race to the bottom on that side of it. It's not a race to the top. It's not a race to be effective. It is a race to be loyal. It is, we love you if you're incompetent. So you have to understand that, and you just have to put it in the right perspective for this moment. It was social engineering. That's all it was. That's all it was. It was just social engineering the entire time. I hate that I still have people running around believing it, but I just saw, I don't even care the context. Your vice president should not have a middle finger anywhere. This is trailer park behavior. It is unpresidential and unvice presidential. But it is allowed because it was never about any of that. It's always been just about, for them, it has always just been about power. And how do we get power and how do we destroy government? That's all it's ever been about. And if you're still thinking there's something wrong with me that I have to fix, you are lost. If you're still thinking we just have to change our culture, you are lost. Anywhere there's poverty in the world, you are going to see people commit poverty crimes. We are no different than anybody else who's on the bottom and oppressed somewhere. And anybody who's trying to make you feel different about yourself is a racist and should be regarded as such. This is just, it's just what it is. I mean, you see this. Trump has already said, he's already dropped the F-bomb when trying to, like, listen, he's in over his head. He don't know what to do because he said this, he got frustrated with Ukraine and Russia too, because everybody's outmaneuvering him at this point. But when you saw the election, we're talking about New York, and he calls the man, like, all this name calling. This is stuff, like, if Barack Obama went around doing this, and we know he wasn't ADOS, but if we went around doing this, if any Democrat went around doing something, but especially Obama, you would have impeached him by now. You don't call you don't call this man a lunatic because you don't agree with him. And usually, as a society, we had decided that that's something that you don't do unless we have trailer park politics now, and we do, and they don't mind because it's always been about power. It's never been about, oh, y'all ain't good enough. But they made a whole. Let me tell you, fam, they made a whole culture out of telling us that we just had to be respectable. Right? When Barack Obama, you see this President Trump on Israel and Iran, we basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the F they're doing. Israel knows exactly what it's doing. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? Are you dumb? Are you stupid? They know exactly what they're doing. Iran has a plan too to try to counter back. Everybody knows exactly what they're doing. The person who don't know what you were doing, that is you. Just like you didn't know what you were doing in Ukraine. I'm gonna have a war in one day. No, you're not. It's just you feel like you walk into a room and say, oh, and people just say, oh my God, it's Trump. But the point I'm making here is not just about the incompetence of it all. The point I'm making here, because that was some interesting immigration stuff too. The point I'm making here is that Trump likes to create spectacles, and they're very embarrassing spectacles. Even the immigration crackdown is just a spectacle more than an efficient crackdown, right? And he makes embarrassing spectacles because white supremacists are never held to account for creating spectacles. And you see that now. And I just want to make sure that everybody sees that we're here now. We're not, they can't hide it anymore. This is just Neanderthalic behavior that they support. This is not an outlier. See, normally when you see this kind of stuff, they try to act like, oh, let's get him out of here. No, this is not an outlier. This is your president who is behaving this way. We could not show up to a job interview behaving this way. We could not show up to anything. We could be on site doing a repair for a company, and we could not show up behaving this way. But they have been allowed to do this while telling us the culture, your culture is just not right. You just got to get your culture together. And we believed it because it was a strategy. If people saw us behaving in a way, then we think, well, maybe, if people see us doing that, maybe they're okay. And no, none of that ever mattered. You saw Trump got this intern, the 22-year-old intern who was in charge of security or terrorism or whatever. You saw that? Nobody cared. They're not caring about, well, I see what you need on your resume. And why don't we just it's tech. We should all be doing tech or whatever. It's always something. Man, he got this little white boy. That white boy worked in the grocery store. They brought him in there. They don't care. They've always been fans of nepotism and all that stuff. It's never been about your resume or your qualifications. It's just overt racism. I like the little white boy. He seemed like a good white boy. And I'm fine that he don't do nothing good. I'm fine that he might be incompetent because I don't want government to work anyway. We saw that. Do you always see, you've been in these companies where they cover for whoever they want to bring in? Oh, well, he's just new. Try to work with him. We don't ever get that. We don't ever try to work. Give him one, but we're going to give him a shot. We're going to put him with somebody and help mentor him. We're going to, get him involved with the systems. We're just going to walk him through. We're going to do whatever we can to get him in. That never happens with us. Why? It's something. It really is something. His career blast off a year after graduation. The 22-year-old with no apparent national security expertise is now a Department of Homeland Security official overseeing the government's main hub for terrorism prevention, including an $18 million grant program intended to help communities combat violent extremism. The White House appointed Fugate, a former Trump campaign worker who interned at the Hard Right Heritage Foundation, to a Homeland Security role that expanded to include the Center for Prevention Programs and Partnerships, known as CP3. The office has led nationwide efforts to prevent hate-fueled attacks, school shootings, and other forms of targeted violence. He didn't need no. Look at his eyebrow. He didn't need nothing but that eyebrow, and he seemed like a good kid. He didn't need nothing but that. Look at him. Come on now. If you want to see how racism really works, this is how it works. They get the job. He's a good kid. Because all you need a lot of times is a shot. And so much of life depends on who you're going to give that shot to. If you don't want to hire somebody, listen, we don't get hired. If they can pick from our name that we're ADOS, a lot of times we don't even get the interview. And got white people going around here talking about DEI. But it's about who gets picked and who gets left behind. It ain't about your resume. We went through the whole thing about how we have degrees and stuff. They'll still call up somebody with a white person who dropped out of high school first, or with a high school diploma. Come on, we've been through this. See, the problem we had with DEI, and there's a lot of people who are talking who don't understand the problem, and they're trying to regurgitate it, and they think, and they don't understand it. So the problem that we all had with DEI is that you have to address the harm primarily. It's not that you can't do diversity. Becky was wrongly decided. It's not that you can't do diversity. The problem becomes when you do diversity and white women become the main beneficiary of affirmative action, it doesn't repair the harm that it was designed to repair. That's our problem. The primary thing has to be repair. It's not to say that diversity in and of itself is a bad thing. It's saying that the primary thing has to be repair. That's our issue. That's always been our issue. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand our position. It was created, affirmative action, to repair. It wasn't repairing. It was repairing white women who were not harmed. Even if y'all didn't get the job, I don't want to hear about that. You talk. If you didn't get the job, talk to your husband, your brother, your uncle, your cousin. You got a lot of white men in your family you can talk to. Help y'all figure it out as a family. It's not the same. No, it's not AI fam. That's his face. That's on his LinkedIn. You know what? I can't get my eyebrow to do that. I guess it's about the muscles in your eyes, child. I don't got it. I do not have it. God bless. News of the appointment has trickled out in recent weeks. I bet it has, raising alarm among counterterrorism researchers and nonprofit groups funded by CP3. Several said they turned to LinkedIn for intel on Fugate, an unknown in their field, and were stunned to see a photo of a college kid with a flag pin on his lapel posing with a sharply arched eyebrow. No threat prevention experience is listed in his employment history. Now, see, he may be an extreme version, but they do a lot of this. And the fact that it is allowed lets you know how much of white America is okay with this kind of behavior. See, in a culture where a meritocracy, in a culture that really has a meritocracy, this kind of thing would get you impeached and thrown out, right? Because the culture really has a meritocracy. In America, we don't have that. We just have people who like to preach that to make sure to keep the mythology of America alive and to keep ADOS in our place and to call us uncivilized. Meanwhile, you do you cuss and holler and do the most rogue and disgusting things, and people are just like, I don't even know. I don't even know how. I think it's indefensible. And, you know, I understand why we had a strategy a long time ago of trying to do things a different way. I do. Right? I do understand looking back on the Urban League and why they had a respectability politics. I understand why people thought that was going to work. I do. So you look at some of the stuff that the Urban League kind of passed out, and they had do's and don'ts, right? They had helpful hints, right? Don't carry loud conversations or use vulgar or obscene language on the street cars or in public places. Remember that this hurts us as a race. This was Urban League. Don't go. Why they had my sis looking like? Don't go about, because she fine. Are they trying to say that she's the one that you can't look like her? What are they trying to say with this picture of her? Anyway, don't go about the streets or on the street car in a bungalow aprons, boudoir caps, and house slippers. See, it's the same stuff today. Wear regular street clothes when you go into the streets. They basically said, don't wear your bonnet. Try to dress nicely at all times, but don't be a dude or wear flashy clothes. They are undesirable and harmful as unclean clothes. And see, the thing is, it's just, I don't even have a problem with saying dress your best when you go outside. But it's all about who you're doing it for. And I understand why they did it. They thought it was going to work back then. I get it. I get it now. But you should go outside and you should go have some respect for yourself. This stuff that you think is going to translate into something, I've been the person who said I have a problem with pictures of people at the White House with jeans on. I do. I have a problem with people at professional events looking like they're at a personal event. I do. But that's because of me. I'm not performing for white folks. I want to show up the best that I can for the people that I represent. So if there's a respectability, the respectability is how I want to show up and represent my people. It don't have nothing to do with performing for white folk. That's the difference. You should they put them tacked out. They put them. Listen, I understand the optics. The optics look real good. And it was drastic seeing Dr. King them in suits getting attacked. It showed that, like, dang, they're in suits and getting attacked. You knew who was the villain and who was the innocent person, but you still got attacked in them suits. Ain't no saving you from the monster that is white supremacy. And King still took a bullet on that Hotel patio. Don't think you can hold your job unless you are on time, industrious, efficient, and sober. Sit in front of your house or around. Don't sit in front of your house or around Belle Isle or public places with your shoes off. Don't wear overalls on Sunday. I like my shoes off. Don't stray away from work every time someone gives a picnic or a boat ride. Stay on your job. Others do. Spend all your money. Don't spend all your money on pleasure. Save some of it for extra clothing and fuel for the winter, and to take care of your family and yourself when sickness comes. A nice little advice on savings. You got to do that. You got to do that. There's one more of them. Okay. Oh, okay. We got a different young lady here. Hold on. Okay. All right. Don't forget that cleanliness and fresh air are necessary to good health. Keep your windows open. Don't do your children's hair up into alleys, canals, and knots if you don't want other children to make fun of them. Keep them clean. Keep your children out. Don't keep your children out of school. Say that they attend the nearest school to you. See that they attend there. Don't fail to start your savings account with some good bank or building loan association. Don't throw refuse and tin cans in your back or front yards. Keep your surroundings as clean as possible. This makes for good health. Don't fool with patent medication in case of sickness. Send for a good doctor. In case you have no money, go to some of the Board of Health clinics. Don't be rude and ugly to people on the streets. Be courteous and polite, and thereby keep out of trouble. Don't fail to meet the teachers of your children. Keep in touch with them. Every hateful thing that your child says about the teacher is not true. Don't fail to become connected with some church as soon as you get into the city. Some of these is good advice. Don't make lots of unnecessary noise going to and fro baseball. To and from baseball game. What's wrong with making noise going to and from baseball games? Fam. Don't make lots of unnecessary noise to and from baseball game. If the parks are taken away from you, it will be partly your own fault. Oh. But guess what? The pools got taken from us anyway. Y'all saw how they dirted up all the pools? Not because we did it. See that? And that's the example. Like, I think they thought if we were respectable, stuff wouldn't still get taken away. And you see instances like how the pools got shut off, right? When these pools got integrated, ADOS didn't do anything wrong in those pools. That's not why they put lye in the water when we were in the tubs. They put lye in the water and they filled the pools with dirt rather than swim with us. Not because we did anything wrong at the pools, they just didn't want to swim with us. And I think I give it to a lot of these leaders because they still fought, even though they said some of this stuff, which is true. Don't be hollering on your way to the baseball game. Not just playing. But they also fought on the other side. That's why you give them grace. They fought on the other side. They were filing lawsuits. They were into the politics. You can't talk about them. We don't do politics now. Not on no real scale. No, we don't. We feel that we vote on Twitter. Twitter and Facebook is where we vote and where everything lives and dies. And we wonder why antiquated, outdated organizations still have more control than we have. That's the problem. Yeah, white people be out there. If they team lose, they be out there taking down light poles. You hear me? They'll take the whole pole down every time. Somebody's gonna die. Like if a white person's team losing and they done had some beer, oh my God, they gonna tear down everything. They gonna tear down everything. But I understand, but we have to have a significant new kind of realization now. That ain't why they drained the pool. They didn't drain the pool because you were splashing water. That's not what happened. That's not why they drained the pool. They drained the pool because they just didn't want you there. These were little Negro children swimming, splashing, having a ball. And even before most of them had a chance to get there in any real number, put dirt in the pool. Put dirt in the pool. We don't even know how many and how different childhood would be. You know how many young people can't swim today? You know how many? There were no pools. There was no way to even go and learn how to swim. We gonna have to integrate this pool? Oh no, that's all right. Like I taught myself in a ADOS community. I taught myself how to swim because there was a pool nearby. I just go over there every so often. And eventually, I was like, okay, we a fish. You can't do that. You can't go over there and like splash chlorine in your friend's face no more. Them were the good old days. But we don't have neighborhood pools anymore, and we don't talk enough about. Part of the reason that we don't have those is because white folks said close the pool. We would rather have that than have a Negro here. So we don't even have places to cool off. You see a lot of neighborhoods building up pools and stuff because it used to be part of a culture. But white people just never wanted to share it in mass. And so here we go. That becomes, right? That becomes the problem. It's not the problem that you did anything wrong in the pool. They don't want you in the pool. And like I said, that came from Detroit Urban League's helpful hints for migrants to Detroit, from people coming from different states. We weren't really migrants. I hate that because it sounds like we were from different countries. And somebody was telling me the other day that immigration is part of what displaced us. I got to look into that too. But yeah, I mean, this is it's just what it is, right? And we have to stop thinking that, we have this thing. We have this depression almost. That's what it feels like. I don't even know if that's really what it is, but that's absolutely what it feels like. It feels like we have this thing going on where we feel like we don't really want to tackle racism because we really do feel like we are partly to blame for it. Like, well, if Negroes really would, you remember when Farrakhan said this stuff, well, if Negroes really would, I wouldn't want to live next door to me either. We don't cut our grass. If you have like, it's hard to find that quote now, ain't it? But if you have a leader of like a major, mostly ADOS organization saying something like that, that's kind of pathologizes who we are. Yes. That's not cutting your grass is not an ADOS thing. And a lot of times that happened to us because we didn't have the kind of equity in our homes and we couldn't get that out. And we were so scared of banks taking our homes and things like that. And I've been through some white neighborhoods with their homes that they have raggedy houses too. But I just think we get caught up in this idea of kind of like a pathology. Right. And going forward, we have to get rid of that. And it was, they did it first. Like we were just trying to say, okay, this is a strategy. Like when you talk about the Urban League, that was their strategy. Hey, we're going to do this on one end, but we need the talented 10th. Y'all gotta take up y'all part. Y'all, hey, we going to fight this fight, but y'all gotta bathe, wash your feet, Don't cook hog maws late at night, even if you need it for the greens on Sunday. No, don't nobody want to smell it at night. Don't start no fight. And it was the William F. Buckleys of the world, the patrons of conservatism, if you will, who were running around talking about how, the South needed to win and needed to run us because we were culturally immoral. And Mr. Buckley, I talk with I'm from the elite, I'm the Oxford of America, you understand, and I'm the father of conservatism. And everybody's talking about him now because there's a new biography of him coming out that's apparently 1,000 pages long. So I'm not getting it no time. So I can't read no 1,000 pages, child. Child, that's not right now. You should have made part 1 and 2. But it's very interesting, some of the stuff. He was racist. If you haven't watched his debate with Baldwin, please watch it. It is a good debate. It is a very good debate. But the question is, was he racist? And it says there's no point in arguing otherwise, though he eventually changed his mind. The racists always change their mind. They do all the damage. When they do all the damage, they come forth and say, I see the error of my ways in such a way. And then some, I think I may not have done what I think I thought to do. I had my best interests were at heart, you understand. Gosh, die a dog. He was eventually changed his mind on civil rights and said that Americans couldn't have evolved our way up from Jim Crow without government intervention. Whereas he had once said that white people, because they were culturally superior, should be in charge. Guffaws invited. He predicted in 1970 that we could have a black president in the next decade. His timing was a bit off, but he was open-minded to and self-aware enough to admit that he was wrong. After they do all the damage, honey, they come back and say they might have been wrong. This was a good little blog I found too about what he said. Writing in 1957, Buckley insisted that whites in the South were entitled to take such measures as are necessary to prevail politically and culturally where they do not prevail numerically, because race was for the time because the white race was for the time the advanced race. In 2004, asked whether he'd ever taken a position he now regretted, he said, "Yes, I once believed we could evolve our way from Jim Crow. I was wrong. Federal intervention was necessary." Child, there's no culturally superior in this raggedy country. Like, what are y'all talking about? Y'all are how does a racist people believe that they're culturally superior? I mean, how does a racist group believe that they're superior in any way? How does a group that benefits from the exploitation of another group view themselves as in any way superior, in any capacity, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically superior? How do you, in your right mind, believe that at all? I keep telling you, white supremacy is a grand projection. I keep saying it. It is a projection. You are everything that you keep telling us that we are. You believe, you say they're culturally deficient because you know that you are culturally deficient. Because no sane, wannabe Christian, a moral person could take, no intellectual could take such an intellectual, indefensible position. So you are at all times everything you keep accusing us of being. You are psychologically deficient. You are intellectually deficient. You are emotionally deficient. You cannot contain your rage. You go out here and you do all kind of stuff. You take over capitals and stuff. You hang people. You are morally deficient. You are every kind of deficiency by way of being a racist that you accuse everybody else of being. You are lazy, so you are, in terms of work ethic, you are deficient because you should need nobody else to pick your cotton, tobacco, whatever you got going on. So there are too many deficiencies to name. You are everything you accuse us of being. And we have to understand that too. Anytime somebody spouts racist stuff, understand that there are deficiencies there. And that is a dangerous person because they have deficiencies. That's why they are Dylan Roof when they walk into something and start shooting people. They're deficient. That's a deficient person. You know how many people slide into my DMs and call me an N-word or whatever, and then and have Christian in their bio, a Christian mom. You don't get your raggedy Jethro loving butt out of my DM. God first. What God? What God? What Jesus, honey? The little white gay man that be looking like this. What's Jesus that you talking about? Like, I don't know which one you talking about because I don't know him. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm just saying, sometimes you have to look at these people, look at the racists and people who co-sign the racists. You're not a moral person if you don't want to pay reparations. Like if I realize, even the Bible says that if you took something out, you got to pay more than what you took. Like that's just what it is. So there is no morality in that. There is only degradation and deficiency. And so when people accuse you of that, you have to understand that this is just projection. That's all it is. You're just projecting something. It's a psychological kind of skill. And it was necessary to create people that are bottom caste. But white America should have 100% outgrown that now. I understand propaganda is a hell of a drug, but you can only be so stupid so long. And so they should have outgrown all of that by now. It's just too much. It's gone too far. It's just gone too far. William F. Buckley at National Review's Viles Race Stance, everything you need to know about conservatives and civil rights. Buckley himself had developed two arguments against civil rights, both of which were little more than disguised racism, both of which led the line to the National Review. The first emerged early in his career. Since the 1950s, Buckley had argued that civil rights should be opposed not because black people were biologically inferior to white people, but because they were not yet civilized enough to take part in democratic government. Or as Buckley put it in 1959, there are no scientific grounds for assuming congenital Negro disabilities. The problem is not biological, but the problem is educational. And I will call on some folks to stop trying to prove Buckley right. Please, like we got way too much anti-intellectualism. Please don't try to prove, stop going above and beyond to try to prove the racist right, that you don't really want education. You don't got to go and get a 4-year degree or a master's or a PhD to educate yourself. They got books readily available. That's why I encourage people, because I don't want anybody to work their way into proving this person right. Everything you do every day should be to prove William Buckley is a dog and to prove him wrong. Right? Not because we trying to do no black respectability. That man is dead. But because we are saying, we are proving to ourselves every day who we are to our group. Like I say, you show up how you show up, not for them. You show up how you show up for you. You show up how you show up for your people. You show up how you show up for your family. You show up how you show up for how your kid looks at you. You show up for how your mama is proud of you, your daddy's proud of you, your uncle, your sister, your brother, your community's proud of you. You're not showing up for them. You're not performing for them. The performance is directed in the wrong direction. Like, why giving them all of that? Like, give it to yourself. Give it to your community. Have information to share with people who come up after you. That's part of the problem why we don't have enough of our own stories. That's why we believe so much stuff and we don't understand. That's why we want to go run to Africa all the time. And we don't understand. Why you want to go do all this Africa stuff? Yeah, man, because you don't understand. That's why we love the pound cake speech, Bill Cosby. And we love when Barack Obama told us fried chicken and don't serve your kids fried chicken. And we said, yeah, we got to be better. And we diminished all the institutional systemic racism with that stuff we did. Part of the reason we want to run and find stories outside of ADOS is because we don't know enough of our own stories. And that's not about black respectability. That's about ADOS pride. If you have pride in yourself, you want to be able to pass down those stories and pass down that knowledge. You don't want to do it to show off for white folk. You want to be able to do it so that you have those stories and your kid has self-respect and don't need to go run into Mama Africa or nowhere else to try to find some self-esteem. Don't make no kind of sense. Trying to prove something to somebody who ain't doing nothing but telling a lie to you about who you are, and you trying to prove something to them. You got to be crazy to try to prove something to a racist. You better try to prove to your kid that this life is worth living and that they have heroes so they won't be depressed and halfway suicidal. You better find something to do that's worthwhile. You better read something so they understand who they are and don't walk around here lost and confused because mama and daddy wouldn't pick up a book to understand their lineage and what it came from and why we should be proud of ourselves. That's why you pick up the book. You don't pick up the book so you can tell the man, you can tell that man, you can tell people who believe like Buckley, yes sir, I knows how to read. Now, like, that's not why you pick up the book. Pick up the book for your people. Running around here just sounding crazy. As he pushed this line of thought in the pages of National Review, Buckley argued that no one knew what levels of education should be mandatory to participate in democracy better than local arbiters. Thus, for Buckley, the federal government had no business declaring equal access when it couldn't differentiate between uneducated black people in Alabama and black graduates of Harvard. And there were very few, and still are, black ADOS graduates from Harvard, right? But that's the only people who should vote, right? The federal government should butt out, and this is why I don't like states' rights. When everybody keeps talking to me about states' rights, this is one reason I don't like it, because it tends towards racism. If Massachusetts wanted to limit the franchise based on an IQ test, that should be its prerogative. And we know IQ ain't nothing, no way, no more. Come on. This was all just racism. So you have this whole thing, right? Actors and organizations, National Urban League, a role in respectability politics, encourage assimilation into white norms of acceptance. You have Charles S. Johnson, and you have Young, who was at NAACP, I believe, promoted character and disciplined cultural positioning. Buckley and National Review, the whites, posited cultural inadequacy as a reason for delaying justice and injustice. The Cambridge debate framed black shortcomings as self-inflicted, and we have that still today. And let me tell you, folks, this is, hey, if they're a dog, Jimmy. I'm sorry. I get, look, Jimmy, if they're a dog, they're a dog. Okay, I can't. But you know what? I apologize because I don't want to insult dogs. I love dogs. And I would never, I hate that I did that because I love dogs. They're wonderful creatures, and I should not compare them to racists who are not wonderful creatures. That is wrong. That is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. Oh, but listen, fam, that's why we have to, instead of just back and forth about Trump, this is a time to reorient ourselves. This is a time to get back into the line of thinking about how things actually should be, and how they actually, and how we've been sold a lie, and how we have to get rid of that lie. We have to disabuse ourselves of that. This whole Trump administration behaving as they are behaving, and with no norms of respectability, self-respect, or respect for the people watching, respect for the world, respect for merit, then you begin to understand, or at least you should, that it was never about merit, not for us. And there are, and we have to get out of that. So anybody who is talking to you about culture now, after everything that we've seen and experienced, is just kind of, for the lack of a better word, they're just a lost soul. And that just is what it is. Troy, I want reparations and Juneteenth. Like, listen, substance is more important than symbolism, but symbolism is also important. I said that during Barack Obama, that during his era, I think symbols are important. I would absolutely love more symbols of ADOS in our fight in this country. That's why I love what the Equal Justice Initiative does in terms of these lynching monuments and symbols, because those are stories that need to be told. But those stories need to be accompanied with redress, right? So it doesn't need to be one way. Yes, we should have this holiday. And it's funny to me when Republicans don't like the holiday that celebrates freedom. They always say we freed the slaves. Republicans freed the slaves, and then when we celebrate being free, they be like, "Oh my God, what a horrible holiday!" It goes to show you they're just pitiful racists. And ain't nothing you can do about it except fight them. There's no middle ground. There's no let's have a conversation and let's talk about it and see if we can work our way through it and find the middle ground. No, that's not what we're doing. That's not how this is going to be. So I'm gonna leave it there, fam. I'm going to take a break. And then we'll if you want to have a conversation, we'll talk about it. May not be long. Like I said, it's supposed to be storming here soon, but I'll take a break and I will be back. All right, fam. All right, fam. We are back. Let me see. Going to the first caller. I am going to do 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 the 818-818. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Let me see if I'm trying to do something different. See something.
Hello, hello, hello. This is LB from California.
Hey, how you doing? What's going on?
Um, yes, I just wanted to make a point. When I was taught on the West Coast of our nation about Juneteenth, it was my early teachers that taught me about it. They were black, and it was a somber teaching. And today, and I know that if you graduated from high school in America, basically you're smarter than, let's say, 50% of the people in your everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
But, when people say happy Juneteenth, it just makes my skin crawl a bit because Juneteenth is a crime
Mm.
where time and work was stolen from our people for 2 years or more because white people felt like they could do that. They did not want to acknowledge that we did win that civil war for this nation, and they stole work from our people, and our people died during that time. Our people had a hard time leaving Texas around Juneteenth. That's why they had to send the army in there. And I don't know, it just makes me feel some type of way when people say happy Juneteenth because to me it's erasure.
Mm.
Like erase those bad feelings and death and struggle associated with it. Happy Juneteenth allows Walmart to make money off of ice cream and everything
Mm.
else under the sun.
Yeah.
Nobody should be making money off of Juneteenth
Well,
but us because it's a crime that has not been solved to this day. Thank you, sis. That's all I wanted
no,
to
I
say.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. And y'all know what else is crazy about that? Is the fact that is the fact that I think we would feel different about Juneteenth if we had actually come up. Like if we had actually had success, I think we would feel good. I think we would feel better. Like if we were able to make money off Juneteenth, as like if we had Targets and WalMarts and stuff like that, then it would be like Happy Juneteenth. Like we here now. Like you know what I mean? But that's not the situation. And so that's not how we feel about it because we didn't come up. Like if we had a bunch of stores and we got reparations and stuff, I think we would feel like Happy Juneteenth. Ooh, shucky ducky. but that didn't happen for us. So it is like a somber thing. So to me, it's both. I feel everything that she said, but I also feel like I feel like I'm just kind of happy too that we're still here, if that makes sense. But I understand exactly what she said, and it's true. And it just shows you it's what they've stolen, really. That's what it is. So going now to 702, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, how's it going?
Pretty
Charlie
good. How
from
about you?
Nevada. I'm doing all right. Um, I just happened to accidentally catch part of what you were talking about here. I came in with the Buckley thing and the thing about the pools. Um, I appreciate that a lot because I think that unfortunately, because I'm of an age now where I remember this stuff and I was awake at a very young age, so I and not awake like this woke thing, but awake at a very young age, and I paid attention to PBS and things like that. And I read the newspaper um, because that was pushed. Once again, talking about respectability politics.
Mm-hmm.
My father, we had three newspapers. There were two evening and a morning, and it was a black newspaper that was printed once a week. And my father bought all of them. And it wasn't until I got much older I realized that he could barely read those newspapers.
Mm.
He would fake. A lot of fathers did that. They would fake read. Like he could read, but he couldn't read as well as I could. Um, and I'll never forget that. That's a side story. But
Mm.
my whole issue is that in reading about this stuff and seeing everything, what you just said about Juneteenth not being a success, and other things too, I think is very important. For instance, think it's very important that what you were pointing out about white mediocrity. One thing I do enjoy about what's happening with the current administration is this display of white mediocrity is so blaring and glaring. I mean, we see it every day now. And I know white people don't want to accept it for what it is. They pretend not to see it. It's a really bizarre thing they do. This weird. You talk about us, our psychoses. White people's psychosis is intense. For them not to see how mediocre and incompetent this entire collection of people is just mind blowing to me. I mean, every day they show you their incompetence and that they're not equipped. Forget the jobs they have in D.C. or in the federal government. These people aren't equipped to be dog catchers. This is really ridiculous. But yet still, Obama's qualifications were called into question several times
Mm-hmm.
during his administration.
Yeah,
I'm
they
not a
wanted his
fan of
grades. You
Barack
remember when they
Obama.
wanted Obama's grades?
What was that?
I said, do you remember when they wanted Obama's grades? They wanted his GPA from his
Yes, I
from
do.
school.
I remember when they wanted his grades. I remember when they wanted to track his transcripts back to because I think he went to Oxnard
Mm-hmm.
for a while or something like that.
Yep.
He did a whole. I know more about that man's academic background than any president that I've ever read about. And I've been reading about presidents since Nixon, and I know no more about Barack Obama's entire academic record than I do any of the rest of them, including Trump. It's ridiculous. But I knew that would happen. He knew it would happen. Everybody knew it would happen. But that's what I mean. We have that kind of ridiculous thing going on. Like you said, the whole thing about the pools. I remember when they closed the pools. Black people's pools were closed. I remember that. I remember the whole thing about black people not cutting their lawns and not painting their houses. And then when you went to white neighborhoods, you would see that they weren't cutting their lawns or painting their houses. Because it was a class issue. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
economic class issue going. People who didn't have a lot of money, people didn't have money to buy lawnmowers, didn't have their lawns cut as much as they should have.
Mm-hmm.
People who didn't have money to hire painters didn't have their houses painted as much as they
Exactly.
could. That wasn't a race thing. It was a class thing. It was an economic issue more than anything else. But I really am disappointed because when I grew up, my grandmother, God bless my grandmother, I love that woman. She's gone, passed away now, but she used to scream about white mediocrity every day.
Mm.
I used to sit at that woman's feet, and she would tell me, "This is how they are." And I'll say this to you, and I hope people hear this. My grandfather, he died. He was working two jobs. He fell asleep at the wheel between the jobs, right? And I could never figure out what the hell was going on with that. I mean, I understood what he was doing, but my grandmother didn't work outside of the home. She was a housemaker. And a lot of those women were during that generation, right? That particular generation. And I thought it was odd until my uncle explained to me. He said, well, they did not want their wives to work in white households because of the the intimate abuse that was going on with the fathers and the sons. They would take liberties with the women in the homes. And so the fathers would work them 6 days a week, 7 days a week, double jobs, all that stuff, to keep their wives and their daughters out of those households. This is something that no one ever speaks about. I never hear people talk about this. But it was a thing, and it was a pride in these men that they didn't have their women working in those houses. Some people had to. Some people had to. And my grandmother, when my grandfather passed away, my grandmother talked about how she was not going to work in those houses because she knew the stories, and my great aunt was there with her. And they told me some of this, the abuse that occurred, and the things they would make you do. Like, and my grandmother would always say, I'm not going to maintain those houses for those women when they make you do. They would literally make them do things that they're not a part of the job, things that were beneath them, that were not a part of the job, extra things. I won't go into the details. You can imagine what I'm talking about. It was just things just to tear your spirit down, basically. And I never forget hearing those stories and how adamant she was about not being in that environment. These things aren't told enough. This isn't ancient history. We're talking about something that happened 2 generations ago, 1 generation ago. I mean, these are disgusting stories, like you said about those pools. That's my life. I remember being young and people going. I never learned how to swim. That was my choice. But I remember seeing dozens and dozens of kids in swimsuits with their towels going down to the public park, the public pool. And then I remember thinking, why did that stop? And it wasn't until later that I realized they closed the public pools. And I was like, well, why did they do that? And I couldn't put it together because, you're not, as a child, you're not thinking of race, because that was the one flaw of my parents in that generation. They tried to pretend that if they didn't speak on race, it would go away. So they didn't speak on these things, right? It was just, they closed the pool. They didn't say,
not like they closed the pool to keep us out.
Yes, but you would have a crazy militant uncle who would say this, right? Hey, they did it because blah blah blah. For us, it was a race thing, right? And everyone else would be quiet because we don't want to believe that people can be this evil. That's the truth of the matter. You don't want to believe that you can be that hated by a people, that lack of humanity is there at that level. And I think that is a disservice. I don't pay that disservice to my kids. I let them know about these stories. I tell them these stories. I tell them what's happening. I see the things that are still occurring. They're not at the levels that were going on with my parents and my grandparents, but I still see these things occurring on lesser levels, lesser things. It is more integrated into the system. We talk about systemic racism. It is so integrated into the system that these things are almost invisible now, because it's been there so long and it's buried so deeply. And I think we don't talk about that enough. We really don't. And this is, I think you have
to face evil, right? I mean, I think when we talk about, we don't want to talk about racism, you have to face evil. They don't want to face it because it's so evil and they can't believe people could be that bad. Like, you got to face it.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying, is that this thing that's going on with the Trump administration and this mediocrity and this disgusting display. And I think that this is an opportunity for people, Black people, and everybody actually, but Black people in particular, we have to, because we're where we're at, to really look at that. And I mean, you can look at it in the face. How can you walk away from this? It's incompetence. How can you? I mean, I love the fact that J.D. Vance called the Chinese people peasants, and they pushed back on that instantly. They immediately pushed back on that. They were like, how is the hillbilly calling anybody a peasant? I mean, it was a beautiful comeback. But it's like the kind of thing that we should be saying as well, because they're like, wait a minute, who is this mediocre man? I don't care if you go to Ivy League school or not. That doesn't mean a damn thing. That doesn't mean I'm going to open the door for this guy. That's all that means. That doesn't mean a damn thing. But it's like, why didn't we say that? Why? I mean, I'm not saying us. I'm just saying that attitude that was coming out of China when all that heat was coming was the exact attitude that we should have. Who are
you of all the people?
Who are these mediocre
you're according to you, you're not elite, Mr. Hillbilly Elegy.
Exactly. This man is telling you where he comes from, and what he is. He pushes on people down
But isn't this something interesting, fam? Isn't it interesting that him being a hillbilly was considered a good thing? If one of us wrote a book and said ghetto elegy, that would not be considered something that would be like a foundation for you becoming a politician or anything good, because our poverty is regarded very differently than their poverty. Even that, that's something else.
Yes, it is. The coming. I mean, we have so many incredible stories. I mean, Jesse Jackson. Like I said, I've been looking at this stuff for a long time. But I remember Jesse when he gave that speech at the convention. One of the greatest speeches of all time, by the way. I mean, I didn't think he had it in him. It was incredible. And he told that story about how, you know, his mother wasn't really his mother. I don't know if you ever heard that speech.
I don't remember it. Well, I don't remember. Tell me.
You should find it online. It's an incredible speech. Everybody should find it. It's one of the greatest speeches ever given at one of those conventions. I mean that. And I'm not a fan of Jesse.
No. But the man was an orator. No, you can't take that away from him.
He showed, yeah, but usually he's doing that thing. But he didn't do it that night. That night he showed up. It was incredible. It really was. It was phenomenal. And that thing he gave, like you said, when you heard where he, you know, the things he'd overcome. He wasn't bragging about it. He was just stating the fact. And when you hear that story, and like you said, somebody like this guy who opened doors, Peter Thiel and the rest of these guys opened doors for this guy to get where he got. He was handed it.
He's a puppet. Yeah, he's a plant.
But when you hear these stories, I'm sorry.
No, I just said the Vance is a plant. He's a puppet. Yeah, of big tech. But you're right.
Oh yeah. Peter Thiel put him there. He's put there on purpose. Yeah, Peter Thiel and the whole PayPal gang, or whatever. But when you hear these stories, or like I was looking the other 2 weeks ago, I saw Robert Smith. You know Robert Smith, the tech billionaire. He's a black guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tech billionaire. They don't talk about him. He's worth like $11 billion. And he was on some show, and they were interviewing him about, you know, of course they were doing the whole thing. Oh yeah, you came from this, you know, black background, blah blah. And he's clean because he came from an enclave of blackness, right? He came from an enclave of black people who were isolated. And the thing is, he comes from Colorado, right? From I think Denver, Colorado, something like that. And they were like, well, how did your family end up there? That's not known as being a place for black people. He said, oh well, let me tell you. He goes into how his family was from, I forget where he's from, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Basically, for 2 generations, their family's businesses were burnt down. I think the grandfather's business was burnt down. They built. The father's business was burnt down. They said, well, I guess it's time to go. And they left. It's like, these are stories that aren't told. This man's a billionaire now because obviously his family they've got that in them. Now, had they not been burnt up twice, had their businesses not been burnt down to the ground twice, who knows where he would be?
Mm-hmm.
He would be a Bill Gates, you know, because that's where it comes from. It's lineage. But if you keep burning it down, ripping it from us, tearing it away from us, beating us down into the ground, telling us that we're nothing, and putting barriers in the way even when we achieve past that, you can't expect anything. And the thing is, these stories have to be told to people right now.
That's true.
We don't need to. And you got Trump sitting there. This guy is the grandson of a pimp and the son of a slumlord. I'm not making that up. That's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
You can look this up. And he's sitting in the White House, a billionaire, unapologetically sitting in the White House. He acts like what his lineage is, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
He hadn't overcome any of that.
Apple don't fall far from that tree, boy.
This is the thing, like you said. What?
I said the apple didn't fall far from that tree, but I'll let you.
Oh no, the apple's still hanging from the tree. He right there. This is what I'm saying. We allow these people to walk around, like you said, pretending to be elite over us. And you said Buckley. The thing is, I actually love Buckley because Buckley would. I remember watching Buckley on PBS.
Me too. Same here.
Like all the time. I remember when Gore Vidal tore him to shreds. That was great.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
I remember when Noam Chomsky tore him to shreds. Mm-hmm. That was great because Buckley was sitting there like he was this intellectual. I remember Noam Chomsky. You know Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky was laughing about it. Well, sort of laughing. He doesn't do that. But they were asking him about when you spoke with Buckley, and he basically did that dry. You know, Chomsky's very dry. And Chomsky goes, "Yeah, well, you know, it wasn't much of a debate. You know, this man doesn't really know anything about it because he schooled him for an hour."
Yeah, he did. But fam, do you know why I like the Gore Vidal debate better though than that one, than the Chomsky debate?
Yes.
Gore Vidal hated him. Like, like it's one of those debates where you can just feel the hate. I think they hated each other. Like at one point they almost fought. Like at one point it was like it almost came to blows almost.
Oh yeah, he threatened. No, Buckley threatened him. He threatened Gore. He threatened Gore.
Yeah.
He said, I forget what he said. I'll like whatever he did. That weird North New England thing. That I'll bop you one, you whatever. You know, he was gone, man. And the funny part is, I think Gore Vidal would have took him. You know, I wish it would have happened.
And that's crap. Yeah.
But I just wanted to say, I'm glad that you brought up the issue of white mediocrity, because this is actually a thing that holds America back.
Mm-hmm.
White mediocrity has really held America back since its inception, I believe, because we've had these people that ran over. People forget they owed it Jefferson and blah blah. No, we had a bunch of people that ran over here from England who were criminals and ne'er-do-wells and thieves and whatever you want to call them. This was not a good stock of people that we got out of Europe. This was not the cream of the crop. And they've been holding us back for a long time because these are mediocre people.
Mm-hmm.
We're farmers. We were farm stock. We were prisoners of war over there who were farmers who were brought over to America. That's what we are. A lot of these people were peasants and bums and thieves.
Mm-hmm. I tell people they always forget the lineage of these people. Thieves, rogues, and sorry. Go on. Sorry.
Yes. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So,
I know. I appreciate you. Great call, fam.
I did want to say one thing before I leave. I as far as reparations, this is going to be whatever. With reparations, I'm not saying we whatever, but I want to ask you this question: if they decide to do a guaranteed basic income, how do you believe that would affect reparations? Because I think that might be a way for them to get out of it.
Oh, I don't think you'll never get it. Like you never get more than one huge thing in like 3 generations, really. So, and that's the way I feel about it. Like the New Deal was the New Deal. After you do the New Deals, that's it. That's it for a very long time, right? And you have to fight to keep that thing. Like if you get UBI, that's it. And the thing about UBI, but the thing that I ask everybody is, why does a white baby deserve as much as a little ADOS baby? Right? Like considering what they're born into and who we are. But I think when America's going to do a big thing, and if it's going to be a big class-based thing, it cannot be devoid of the lineage thing that has to happen as well. If those two things don't happen, you can kiss reparations goodbye, because once they do this, they're gonna tell you to take your $17,000 and let that be your reparations. Because that's all they're trying to. That's all Peter Thiel talked about giving was $17K. Okay, that's your UBI, and you make it do what it do. And you're still gonna be on the bottom because everybody else got 17 plus.
Exactly. You're still sitting where you sit. Now, that's what I was going to say. If UBI, and I'm just putting this out there, if we feel that UBI is going to happen, I do feel we need to make a strong move for it. Remember, we always said it's more than money. I think we need to make a strong move for the other part of it, like the other things that we need. Like, forget the money. Okay, we're all getting money. How about the other things that we need? You know what I mean? Like, I think I love that idea of you said about a protected status.
No, I absolutely agree with you, fam. I agree with you. I gotta let you go, but I absolutely agree with you. Great call.
Yep. Bye.
Appreciate you. Yeah, and that's why self-interest is so important. You know, it absolutely has to be something more than, gosh, these people are talking about 17K. Like the thing that this is the arbiter for me. If this is the benchmark. If you're still on the bottom at the end of this thing, then it wasn't reparations. Like the reparations is supposed to make you whole, and us being made whole doesn't keep us at the bottom. So if that's what happens, then you didn't get the thing that you were supposed to get. 410, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on?
Not too much. What's going on with you?
I was listening to the guy talking on the show. I disagree with a bunch of stuff that he said, and I just wanted to just call him. Hello.
I'm listening to you.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't agree. I'm breaking down from number one. I don't agree with your take on white mediocrity because I don't think the guy, or I think you and the other guy, you guys might be misunderstanding the issue of race and what puts white people on top. Like why do they have the power? I think I'm not saying they are mediocre white people, but I think there's a confusion around like the ratios and stuff like that. You gotta understand like what gives the country power or like white people power is basically uh, four things: the Academy of Sciences, spy networks, intelligence agencies, and engineers. Even though in the Academy of Sciences is part of like engineers, I put engineers like as separate. The thing is, yes, it's true. There's a lot of mediocre white people, but there's still a huge amount of talented white people.
Let
But
me
that's
hold
the
on one
core
second.
of the white
Hold on one second.
supremacy.
Hold on one second. Nobody said, first of all, nobody said that all white people are racist, right? Second of all, nobody said that there are not talented whites. What we're talking about, and I think this is a nuanced conversation, and it's kind of losing you a little bit. What we're talking about is how white mediocrity gets judged and how it gets allowed to float to the top. And if we're talking about where
I
racism
get
shows up, you can't tell me it shows up in just these three places when we know it shows up in housing discrimination, when we know it shows up in justice, when we know it shows up in every aspect. That's why it's institutional, it's systemic. So I think you were kind of misunderstanding
very,
the conversation.
the thing is, what I'm trying to tell you is this. What I'm trying to explain to you is this. The reason why the white mediocrity exists is because they have those talented people there. When you have those talented people there that have power, they're the ones that give the privilege to the mediocre white people. But the difference between black and white people is we don't have the same ratio of talented people.
No, the difference is that
That's
they were the
it.
majority.
I
The
give
difference is like, no, hold on, wait a minute. The difference is not the ratio of talented people. The difference is that they were the majority. And the difference is that when we had the talent, we didn't have the power to protect the talent. So when we had the intellectual property, when we had the engineers, the scientists, and the creators, because we are the minority and we were brought here slaves, we didn't have the power to protect that intellectual property or the property itself. So it's not about talent. So again, I think you misunderstand the conversation.
this is the thing that a lot of folks have a problem with this. What I'm saying is this: it's uh, the difference. I'm not saying it can't be fixed, but I think the people don't understand race and people don't understand good and evil and versus like what's really going on. Like I'll give you an example. What I'm saying is this: the reason why black folks got colonized in Africa or got slaves, whatever, it's not because white people just had a numerical superiority.
Well, here it
The
is. I'm not
black
talking about
people
Africa.
in South Africa,
I'm not an expert on Africa. I'm talking about in America. It is absolutely because of violence and that they were the majority. That's it.
but you can't say it's because they were the majority. Because in South Africa, the white
I can't
population was
speak on
less
that.
than
See, I'm not
10%.
an expert. I can't compare apples and oranges. I can only talk to you about America. Now what you say about South Africa, I do not know, and I cannot speak on it because I'm not an expert on what happens in South Africa. I'm pretty well versed on what happened here. Now, if you want to tell a South African that they're not talented, you can have that conversation with them.
I gave you an inverse. I gave you an inverse comparison to dispute what you're saying. That the reason why white people dominating black people in America is just because there's no white people. I gave you an example
No,
of
no,
a
no, no.
situation
Let
where
me just say this.
the
Let me just say
white
this. There are white people dominating other white people. We've had wars in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have Ukraine and Russia. We have a lot of things that we don't talk about, which is white inter-ethnic violence, where one white group dominates another white group too. We have inter-ethnic violence in African countries where one ethnic group violates another ethnic group. So we have that all over. I don't want to make this just a white black thing. We're making it ADOS and white. In this country, slaves and their descendants in this country, because we're having a very specific conversation. So I don't believe a different country with different circumstances really inverts. You can't just invert a country. Like different countries, we came here in different ways, different times. I think that's a conversation you should have with a South African with your fist up.
No, it's not an issue of local politics. It's an issue of what the population and power. Take out the cultural, who speaks what like take that all out. I'm not saying white people don't fight other white people. That's not what I'm saying. Europe's whole history was filled with violent wars. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what makes the country powerful is what I'm trying to get you to understand in the modern world. And by modern world, I'm not just saying now in the 2020s or 2018, 2019. I'm talking about at least since the 16th century. What makes a country powerful or a group of people, however you want to, is that intellectual ability in scale. I'm not talking about individual people here and there. What I'm saying is, and I'm not saying this to justify anything the white folks did.
Okay, I need you to get to the
It's
point for me,
actually
though.
the opposite. What I'm saying is, the point is, the point is, like the mediocrity thing is true, but the reason why mediocre white people can enjoy life is because there's a bunch of super talented white people giving them the privilege. The privilege has to come from somewhere. You get what I'm saying?
But
And
I don't. I think the point that you're making is irrelevant because the fact that there are talented white people in this country does not go to the point that I'm making, which is the fact that the way those talented people judge their mediocre brethren is not the same as the way they judge talented ADOS. So what I'm looking at is a discrepancy.
Excellent. And I agree with you on that, but that point is moot. That point is moot because
it's not moot. It's not moot because we bear the consequence of it. Like you're saying that when you say it's moot, you're saying that our existence in this country is moot because we bear the consequence of that double standard. We bear the consequence of not being able to protect our wealth and then multi-generational. So it's not a moot point. It's a very relevant point and a very consequential one.
Well, what I'm saying is, what you're saying is that it's consequential is true. I'm telling you that they don't care because they're operating the system of white supremacy.
Yeah, nobody don't care.
The system of white supremacy. It's a system. So, but this is the thing. It's kind of like the double thing now because it's like I know that they're gonna. You cannot expect these people, the talented white folks, to judge black mediocrity at the same level of white mediocrity.
No, I'm not
when
asking that. I'm asking to judge
So-
ADOS talent at the same level. And see, this is the point. And this is my last point. Now I'll let you go because you don't have a country if they don't do that. Like the whole all of the virtues that America is supposed to stand for, virtue, the Statue of Liberty being blind, all of that stuff. If you say, well, you can't expect them to judge you the same way you judge me, then what happens is we will always have the same outcome of being on the bottom. That's just what it is, and that's why it's such a consequential thing. 60 seconds.
One last thing. So the point is, like, I agree with you that they don't judge the same, but the overlaying point is because they both white supremacists. But what I'm saying is, like, if you look at after 1964, there's the laws that were put in place. There are certain things that were put in place that I believe ADOS could have taken advantage of. But like you said, the politics wasn't done because there's the decline in politics. There's the decline of black politics.
Well, also, they murdered a lot of our leaders. So that's part of the reason that there wasn't a continuation in the counter politics. Like you can't have our leaders get shot down. And
I got 30 seconds.
Yeah,
30 more seconds left. I got 30 seconds. And this is very important. It's from the bottom up, not from the top down. That's one mistake that we made. And the main weapon that we have in our arsenal against the white mediocrity is actually class action lawsuits. But we never put the structures in place, especially with regards to Title VII and employment discrimination. The greatest thing that we have in our quiver is class action lawsuits. Because I actually did research and I studied this. But the problem with that is the EEOC isn't funded properly. And at the same time, most black folks into the politics to support that pillar that would have been a form of check and control against white mediocrity.
All right,
so I agree with you that white mediocrity
your 30 seconds is up. I appreciate you calling in. No, I appreciate you calling in. Listen, I don't know. let me go to 678. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? What's on your mind?
I'm good, Yvette. How are you?
Pretty good.
Oh my goodness. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Met you at the ADOS Atlanta Juneteenth celebration.
Hey.
And my name is
I was a sweaty mess, but I appreciate
Casey,
you.
And no, it was hot out there. I'm trying to tell you, okay? And thank you for being so patient with people. I'm gonna try to get to the point, but my name is Casey. I'm in Atlanta by way of Chicago, and I am basically a 92 baby,
Okay.
raised and born to older generation parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, right? Coming up, speaking of the whole reparations conversation, also just, the situations where mediocrity is prevalent in, white leadership, I have found that the saying about comparison being the thief of joy is very prominent here in this situation. And sometimes I feel what would benefit all ADOS people in these United States is to understand that comparison is the thief of joy. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't strive, like your point earlier. It doesn't mean that you don't strive for greatness. It doesn't mean that you don't put your best foot forward with every step you take. It just means, like you said, that your mentality has to change as far as the intention behind why you're doing what you're doing. And I think for a lot of ADOS people, when it comes down to the way we carry ourselves, when it comes down to the things that we do and what we strive to achieve in our lives, it would benefit a lot of us to step back from the expectation that we feel has been placed on us and more so look inward as to what we really want to accomplish and achieve. And I'm not saying that they're not outside factors affecting our ability to succeed. That is a fact. But what I'm saying is that sometimes I think even if we were to get reparations, I would be elated if we were able to get reparations and it was something that actually took place. But it's frustrating because then I think about some of the decisions that a lot of us make because we have not been trained in the right mindset. It pains me to think that possible benefit could be squandered. So
well, also because we tend to
when
find our joy in material things more now, right? So it's not like
yes,
that's the comparison point. That's usually the comparison point. It's either a physicality point or it's
yes. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like when it comes down to it, and you are constantly, and for example, when you touched on the situations that were going on in the media with celebrities, when it comes down to you being an individual, you have to really look inward because even if you're in a manipulative relationship with somebody, whatever the circumstance, when you have someone projecting on you and they're constantly moving the goalpost, you have to understand and decide that you're not going to try to reach the goalpost. You're going to create your own goalpost and you're going to reach whatever those milestones are based on the intentions that you have to strive for better. And I think when you get down to it, that's why a lot of us get caught up in the celebrity nonsense. That's why a lot of us have, mentors or role models that turn out to be trash, is because those people get in position and they think because now they have received whatever they received that they can continue to move in that energy of comparison and do the same things that have been set out as traps, not realizing that it takes an individualistic state of mind to be able to come back around to community.
Yeah.
And not so much being selfish, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing, I think it's interesting that you mentioned community because somebody in the chat said, what's the right mindset? I think you have to have a community oriented mindset, first of all, right? You know, when people look at when people who are, when you look at, any research people have done about what is a meaningful life, a lot of people have a hard time finding a meaningful life without community. And so that has to be there. The second thing is, I think you also have to kind of find your joy. Like, nobody can tell you what your joy is. Like, sometimes they'll tell you, go back and figure out what you used to like to do as a kid. Like, that can take you to your joy. But what you see with celebrities is that, and I'll look at this, since the Diddy trial is just now coming up to be over, he didn't have really any joy. It was just like, I'm going to do freak offs, I'm going to do drugs. And it's just, that's kind of
Right.
what it was all the time. I'm going to buy a bunch of cars. And if you looked at him, you thought he was the happiest person in the world. But he's running around beating people and having all kind of rages and stuff like that, and trying to find all of his joy outside. And I think if you get a bunch of money and you don't have that, and you don't have any kind of wherewithal for that, you end up just circulating the
Right.
money all the way back to whoever's selling you that car.
Yeah, and I agree with I agree with the community piece as well. I'm not disagreeing with the community
Mm-hmm.
piece, and I'm not disagreeing that we deserve reparations.
Oh, I know.
What I'm saying is that, with all of that, everything in life is going to work well with balance.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in moderation, including moderation. Sometimes you have to take it to certain extremes to get what you need to get done, but there are also nuanced ways to accomplish goals. And at the end of the day, when you boil it down to each individual person making a commitment personally to live a life that, you know, steps up, right? Like when you put the example up of how they were telling people, don't be loud going to the baseball game. Like those are the type of things that, yes, those are good examples to portray as an individual, but it's like, as a person who wants to strive for more and wants to achieve more, while you want to be a part of a community and while community is necessary, you also have to work on what's inside of you in order to bring some type of benefit to whatever community that you're coming into. So with your mindset being in a place where you're constantly comparing yourself to other people and comparing yourself to what they have, you're always going to be trying to reach some type of goal that is kind of like it's kind of obsolete. It's kind of something
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
can't
I agree
really
with you.
touch.
And your mind will always keep you chasing. Like, that's kind of what it does. It always finds the next goal. I mean, which is okay to a certain extent. You can't have that just kind of displace your happiness, right? Why? Because what you gonna do when you chasing the goal?
Right.
Like, you have to find a peace within that. So no, I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you, fam. I appreciate you calling in.
Thank you. You too. Bye
You have a
bye.
good one. Let's see. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-beep, beep, 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 beep. Let me see. 850. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's going on?
Thank you for taking my call, Sister Vet. Brother Kazon Johnson, calling from Pensacola, Florida.
All
How you
right.
doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
All right, I'm doing okay, sister. Let's dive in. One of the main things I wanted to address is so my major was history,
Mhm.
and kind of like your first caller, I kind of have a little bit of the feeling. Well, here's my stance. Um, I believe we need to be honest about history. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I do not believe that Juneteenth is a national holiday for nothing. It is a Texas only holiday. If on Juneteenth, when we woke up that morning, if the word Texas, the word slavery, the word reparation together in a sentence somehow, some way was not mentioned, we missed the moment. That national thing that we want to participate in is the February. Although it's the shortest month, and I'm sure there's many that could, would jump on that and have what they feel about that. But nevertheless, that is the national month, the Black History Month. So I think it's a little confusing as we're talking to the babies, because I made it my business to go out and just ask people, what are you celebrating? Us, Juneteenth. What does that mean? I don't know. We free.
Oh, you was just
I don't
you
know.
was
It
just a
could be just
pest.
because my history, It could be just because, again, like you majored in political science and I majored in history. It may to be a little gnat that gets up under me, but I think that is due though. I think we need to
would have
be.
maced you if you come up to me and ask me, well, what are you doing? What are you celebrating? That's how I go away. I know.
Hey, you know what? I believe you, and I couldn't have caught you because I know you run, sister. I know I couldn't have caught you. but more seriously, I think you and I would definitely be in agreement that Juneteenth was a Texas only event in history now, and if and not to say again that we couldn't do anything, but I do believe in keeping everything in its proper order. If we did want to build a more deeper conversation, again, Texas, slavery, reparation, justice would have all had to be in the main topic.
This is how you ruin the barbecue,
if you will.
This is how you ruin the barbecue right here. This is how you ruin the barbecue. No,
but hey, but at least I hit the February month though.
It is Texas. They found out late that they were, but it is symbolic of slavery in general and justice delayed, and so we can all enjoy it as a national holiday and have fun. And you know, that kind of thing. So that's just kind of where I am with it. But I appreciate you, child. I'm just too tired. you have a good one though, fam. I got to run.
Appreciate you.
Nope. Y'all done took me back to the old vet. Okay, I'm going to one more call. 301. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is O calling out of PG. How you been?
What's going on, O? What's on your mind?
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, a lot of interesting callers tonight, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'm not going to be on long. But, you know, one of the things that I noticed is that, you know, I think Trump is perfectly competent, and that what we're really witnessing is the purpose, and that's weaponized incompetence.
Mm.
You know, he's in there to do exactly what his purpose is to do. It is to destabilize America as much as possible so that he and his oligarch friends can pull up to the trough and just eat everything.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you know, we've been here before because Trump is nothing but Bush 2.0. They played the same act. You know, basically, you know, Bush's act was, oh, I'm just a dumb Texas dude, when it was anything but. And that's how we got the Patriot Act.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we got more Wall Street. That's how we got more Wall Street deregulation. And that's how and that's how we got the housing crisis. True. But see, the game that they play is that they understand that all they have to do is polish up the guy on the other side of the aisle and play them against each other, the archetypes against each other, to play both sides against the middle. Because after we get Bush, we get Obama. He looks the part. He sounded the part. He had the resume. But we know he didn't do a damn thing for working class America, let alone ADOS.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, really, you know, at the end of the day, I think people are now finally realizing that, you know, government, as we know it for a long time, has really just been a front for corporate and private interests.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that now is the perfect time, whatever camp you are in, to start a political party that is not beholden to corporate interests. Another thing I wanted
America needs like six political. I believe America should
really,
like six political parties. Like everybody doesn't fit into one party. You got the right wing who don't fit in with the moderate Republicans, who don't fit in with the culture warriors. You got the liberals who don't fit in with the leftists, who don't fit in with, you know. So I believe that the two-party governance never made sense for a long time.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, you know, what you see happening is that, you know, you have so many Black people now that are so disillusioned with the Democratic Party, and for great reason. I mean, for good reason. but it makes him so much susceptible to conservative. I won't even say conservative, but just lies that just aren't true. And somebody that I see circulating a lot these days is Thomas Sowell.
Oh,
who
ruin more white
who
mans,
I
the bad
find
white minds, and the meth and bad liquor. Go on. Sorry.
I mean, I just find him to be so intellectually dishonest and just the worst kind of person. But I saw a video that he made, actually two of them, and he's another one that makes the argument that it's basically Black America's fault that we're poor because Black people ain't shit. But it's interesting because he did a video about how social programs don't work. They've never worked. They're just a bad idea. They're a waste of money. But it's interesting because I look at the VA loan program. That was a social program that worked.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't talk about social programs that white folk get that work. Like he doesn't know. He just come on.
Of course not. He never talks about social programs that were aimed at white people, so they were actually funded, and they weren't sabotaged. Mm-hmm. But and it really invokes a spirit of what I call Black cynicism. I talk a lot about what I experienced and what I saw working in nonprofit many years ago. But I noticed that across the board, you have this Black cynicism that has Black people believing, in whatever camp they're in, that Black people really are our own worst enemy. But what I found interesting is that at least in the camps that I was in, the same people that would scream from the mountaintops, Black people are not a monolith. Black people aren't a monolith. These would be the same people who then two sentences later would make statements that, Black men are the most misogynistic and violent. Black communities are the most homophobic. Anything where, what is undesirable in character resides, that was the domain of Blackness. But I thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate the
so
call.
much love. I can't wait to see you again. Can't wait to meet Tone. Keep up the good work, and I love you, fam.
Love you back. Appreciate you, fam. Hey, fam, I know we got some people still in the queue, but that's going to be it. I apologize. That is going to be it for tonight. We had some long goals tonight, so that's going to be it for tonight, y'all. I apologize if I didn't get to you. I know I got a few still in the queue. I apologize if I didn't get to you. But it bees like that sometimes. that's really the only thing you can say. Like, woo! Like, I surely is tired. I guess you could say that too. Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Could y'all hear the callers any better? I'm just experimenting with stuff, so let me know if y'all can hear them any better tonight. I'll try a new trick. Oh, Yvette, the sound engineer. Oh my God. Oh, but no, I appreciate shout out to ADOS Maryland and all the people out there too. So shout out to y'all. I appreciate it. And I think we had a good conversation, and I appreciate the conversation that we all have. I'm trying to figure out if I have any announcements or anything. I don't think so. But to those of you all who on the Patreon show, I will see y'all on Friday at 2. Don't forget about that. Friday at 2. And I will leave it at that. And y'all have a safe night. Please stay safe. Please take care of yourself. Don't bother nobody. Don't let nobody bother you. And I'll talk to y'all next time. All right.